Why did you choose occupational therapy? I mean, like you said, there are many other helping professions.
I honestly, it was the path of least resistance. So I went to East Carolina University, and at the time, it was the only therapy profession that was still a bachelor's. And I think that probably played the biggest part of it. I could be done. Well, it took me a little longer. In theory, it would have taken most people 4 years. Uh, it was a close. The second was speech. I just didn't want to wait to do an undergraduate degree to maybe then apply to a master's program and have to, like, I just wanted just to be done.
Hmm.
And so I think that was logistically the biggest part of it, but obviously it all happens for a reason. And
Yeah, did you always know that you wanted to help people?
I think so. Like I vaguely remember some therapists kind of over the summer, and I got to spend some time in his special education classroom. So I knew real quick I didn't want to be a teacher. I didn't want to be in a classroom. I didn't want that, but I did want something related. And, after years of working at a summer camp, I found that I'm actually pretty good at it. So I might as well kind of just stick with that path. I'm not good with numbers, so I was never going to be an accountant or an engineer. So
Hmm. How would you describe what occupational therapy is?
So I like to joke about this, especially when I'm out networking. Like, everybody knows what physical therapy is. They get you up, they get you moving after an injury or an illness. And I jokingly say that we just make sure that when you do that, that you're not dirty or naked. So we help with those everyday tasks that you have to do to get through your day. And if there's some kind of impairment or injury or illness or something impacting your ability to perform those activities that you do every day or occupations, that's where we step in.
Hmm. So, who can benefit from OT services?
We have a wide scope of practice, which is probably what also attracted me to the profession, because we can work with the lifespan, we can work with all ages and diagnoses. And so, in the pediatric realm, any kind of developmental delay for any cause, and we tend to differentiate between adults and pediatrics. So with adults, it could be after a surgery, after an illness, after a stroke, car accident, any kind of accident, any any impairment that stops you from performing what you need to do every day.
Hmm. Got it.
And that varies between age, if there's a diagnosis, cultural boundaries. It just depends on where you are.
Yeah. What kind of settings have you worked in?
Just about all of them. I got to do traveling therapy for a while. So it's like traveling nursing, where you take a temporary contract and kind of bump around the country. And anything from pediatric outpatient clinics to hospitals, acute care settings, skilled nursing facilities, and kind of anything in between. And the only one I would say I've never, shouldn't say that, one of the hospital settings said that, but I've never done like inpatient adult mental health. So one of the hospitals had an inpatient adolescent unit that we would get consulted to, but not, I've never done like adult mental health, I guess.
Hmm. So, sometimes the impairments might be mental. Is that what you're saying?
Could be a mental illness
Hmm.
or anything that it can be anything that impacts you during the day, whether it's mental or physical.
Got it. So, talking specifically about the autistic population, what are some goals that you might work on?
So I kind of look at, what connections need to be made in the brain in order to be able to do a certain task. And sometimes there's impairments in like balance or the ability to process information coming in through your five senses or knowing where your body is in space. And so it really depends on the individual. A lot of times I have a goal for, scanning left to right in a smooth pursuit. Because if you don't have control of like these little eye muscles, then you can't read or write.
So that's eye scanning left to right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
How would you target that?
It depends. We have to start with visual attention. So they have to be able to look at something for a sustained period of time before we can actually track it. So that's usually how I break it down. I definitely don't use anything that has a blue light. So any of the tablets and things to get them to, we all know that they can like stare at those, right?
I
But
see.
looking at something meaningful, whether it's a letter or a lot of times they can't throw and catch a ball because they can't converge and then use their hands to do something. So getting them to look at an object first and then slowly start moving it through the visual field and see where their eyes go, because if something happens like over in their periphery, their attention is going to divert over. So sometimes I like to work on that in a noisy environment, because then they have to work that much harder to sustain the attention and then look and not be so distracted with what the world is doing.
Mm-hmm. You've been watching Autism Knows No Borders. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Also, we'd love to hear from you, so let us know what you think in the comments section. Click here to watch this interview in its entirety. You can also find us on your favorite podcast app. Tune in each week for engaging conversations of how people across the globe are inspiring change and building community. Thanks for watching. Take care.